Alan, it's MFN 9, and I've said it yesterday. It seems just like yesterday when Matrix Fight Night started, and you being the main man behind everything that happens at MFN. It's both an achievement for mixed martial arts in India,
Right.
the MMA community, and for people like myself and the GAMF and the IMA team, those who work to ensure that the sport stays safe and at the same time grows
Right.
with the promotion of Matrix Fight Night. And what I've made for myself as a habit these last 3 MFNs is to kind of ignore. I know it might seem weird to you because you put in all the hard work,
Right.
but I kind of ignore who's on the fight card until we're actually in fight week, where I actually hear it, but not necessarily study the fighters or who's fighting whom, because with my role as a referee, I want to ensure that I walk in completely unbiased,
Right.
so that I just see two fighters rather than knowing their specialties or leaning in any way towards one fighter because I
Okay.
know or don't know
True.
them. So I try to keep that completely unbiased. But we are in fight week. We are literally on the heels of MFN 9. So tell us what went to this card, or at least begin by telling us what's really the top of this fight card, something that the fans should really be interested to look forward to.
So, I mean, what you just said about the refereeing and not looking at the fight card is something that it's the number one thing any official should do, because that's how you are not biased towards the fighter. Because if I know a fighter is good at grappling, then I start looking at judging the fight at just about his based on his grappling or his striking for that matter. So I think as officials we are kind of blessed and grateful that GAMF and IMA do things like that, so that it's a fresh canvas, it's a clean canvas when you look at fights. So that's a fantastic thing that you do when you don't look at the fight card, because that's how it should be. And coming to the fight card, for us it was very simple. Number one, we had to come back to Delhi. Delhi being the hub of the fight, or the fight capital as we call it in our country. And apart from just being the fight capital, there's a lot of talent which is not tapped in this area, North India being the bigger region. And obviously we had a great fan following from the Afghanistan crowd, the people that live here in Delhi from the Afghan origin, and we had to bring the fight back to Delhi, so we had to add an Afghan fighter on the fight card. Then we had a lot of questions why there were no female fighters for this fight card, so we had added not just one, we added 2 female bouts for this one. And then yeah, the fights just made themselves to come back to Delhi, and that's the fight card all about. We've got 10 great bouts with a mix of new, raw, untapped talent and some of the veterans coming back.
That's really cool. I like how everything has been brewing up behind the scenes.
Right.
But my question to you before we talk about the actual fight card of MFN 9 is about two fighters that are not on the card.
Okay.
Because I didn't even know this until I was training with one of them
Okay.
this morning poolside. We don't have Dhruv
Right.
on this fight card, and we
Right.
don't have Abdul Badakshi,
Right.
both that are stars of Matrix Fight Night.
Right.
What's going on with both of them?
I think it's important to safeguard a fighter's career as a promotion. That's how we think at MFN. And I personally believe that a fighter not fighting for too long gets rusted, but however doesn't mean that they have to feature on every fight card, because you have to protect the identity of a fighter, you have to guide their career, you have to shape their career in the right way. Abdul, Dhruv, they had some niggles which they had to address after their last fights, so we just decided to give them a break. However, the break was very intentional, that we want to save them up for something bigger, which we'll reveal soon. So yeah, that's the story with Dhruv and Abdul not being on this card.
When I talk about the fighters and how MFN selects fighters, Since IMA is the sanctioning body, a biased person might think that you have to be an IMA member to be seeded to MFN, that it has to be an IMA sanctioned event for people to get seeded.
Right.
But we've seen over the last 8 MFN shows that not everybody who is an IMA member or that has an IMA sanctioned event
Right.
has their fighters coming through.
Right.
So I think some people from IMA might have questions. Do you want to address that question?
I think anybody who has the FOMO or fear of missing out of being in MFN says that. However, that's not the case, and our last few fight nights and 8 fight nights have proven that we have picked up talent from every part of the country. Unknown places where people didn't even know MMA existed, we brought fighters from there. And however, we do suggest, we advise them as MFN that do follow procedural rules, bylaws which IMA sets, because we believe that IMA looks after the fighter's health. IMA looks after the essence of the sport. IMA looks after the mixed martial art value of the sport. So that's what we do. That's why we work with IMA. It's not, there is no bias here. We have picked fighters from every corner of the country, every known and unknown gym. And yes, their performance defines them whether they stay here or they don't stay here. Simple as that.
And I also think that when we bring athletes, or rather when MFN brings athletes that are not from the IMA umbrella, they have that opportunity to get in to the IMA
For sure,
umbrella
for
and
sure.
get to be part of the organization that has
Right.
all of these, structural rules in place.
Right.
Speaking of which, we have female fighters on
Right.
this card again. We didn't have them at the last event,
Right.
but we have female fighters back again.
Right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the female fighters?
Actually, we were building up the female bouts for MFN 9 anyway. I mean, I had thought of that while I was making the fight card for MFN 8. And I was asked at every stop why no female fights. The reason I was waiting to get female fight cards for MFN 9 was because we were targeting an international female fighter to come first time on an MFN platform. So we were just figuring out how soon we can get. So then there's obviously we were dealing with the elements of today's world with COVID and restrictions and things like that. So we finally got our hands on an international opponent for one of our upcoming stars. In that case, Jojo fighting a Filipino girl from Manila. And I think that was what I was saving it for, to have Indian girls also testing themselves against equal level of competition, not just to throw them against the lions as they say, but to test how good are female fighters. And I personally believe that Jojo is a great asset to MFN, and she can be the next female fighter face of MMA in India. And then Pooja has been a veteran in the sport. She's fought all across the world as of now, and we had to bring her back because of her performance. She also lagged behind because she had an injury issue, otherwise she would have featured in the previous show. So these are the reasons basically why certain fighters don't feature on a certain fight card. The world sees that we are not giving people opportunities, but there's a fight that we are fighting as a promotion to look after those fighters because they are not well, they are fighting through injuries, because this is real. The sport is real, the injuries are real. There's a struggle that these guys go through the gym which nobody sees. And as a promotion, we look out for that. So they were not there on the previous show. They're here, not just one, 2 female bouts.
So can you just tell me the names of the fighters on both these bouts and what
So-
may be their specialties?
So we have Pooja, who's been a wushu and an MMA veteran now. So she's fighting a girl originally from Tibet, now representing Himachal Pradesh. She's also accomplished a lot of laurels in wushu. And Pooja and Tenzin Pema, who's the girl, her opponent, they both are fighting in one fight. And Jojo Rajkumari fights Mary Jane from Philippines. Mary Jane hasn't fought in a year or two, but she's a good high-level MMA athlete. So I'm expecting this to be a tough fight for both our Indian girls. And let's see how this goes.
And I will take this opportunity to tell the Indian community that the advantage of working with an MMA promotion as MFN, or let's not say like MFN, the advantage of working with Matrix Fight Night is that you have the opportunity for fair fights in your career. I'll go on record to say, if you're seeking other MMA promotions outside of India, great for you. It's perfect for you. Go ahead and take it. But you are definitely going to be at risk to have an unfair matchup. With Matrix Fight Night, if you've looked at the last 8 MFNs, you'll see fair matchups for Indian MMA fighters. Indian MMA can only grow to the level of what's happening on the international circuit if we grow with fair matchups. And I'm sad to say that a lot of neighboring countries and other countries in Asia are not giving Indian MMA fighters fair matchups. And what they're doing is that they're throwing our fighters who have little or new experience to fighters that have much higher level experience. And that deters a fighter's enthusiasm and curbs the community in itself from seeking more opportunities internationally. So be patient and work with Matrix Fight Night, and you'll grow in the right way.
I think it's a fair point, and it's a very valid point. And I also feel for the fighters who think they can jump divisions, they can jump promotions, they can jump onto a level that they are not ready for. So there has to be a proper mentoring. The people who are coaching these fighters, the people who are advising these fighters, if at all there are coaches there, these guys need to understand that you're killing their careers even before they started. So I think the fighting community or the fighters in India need to just slow down. Nothing happens. There's a process, and if these guys keep ignoring the process, they're never going to reach their goals. And sad to say, if you think that you can go to college without going to school, if you think you can go to a university without finishing your college, that's not how it works. That's the reality. So high time these guys wake up, smell the coffee, and see what the reality is. So I think they need to really understand where their career is going, if at all they are interested in their careers. If they want to be tourists, go to a foreign country, roam around the city, get beaten up, pick up some cash, come back home, dollars will finish in 3 days, they'll be looking for another fight and be used as tomato cans. So I put my hands up where that is concerned. But everyone who is part of Matrix Fight Night, we as a promotion, and I can say it with the backing of the Shaw family, that everybody who is part of MFN will always get a fair matchup. And yeah, rest is all in the cage. Whoever does well, whoever wins, and we have started giving performance bonuses as well. So each guy who wins, progresses, goes up, gets more money, if that's what you're looking for, which is important as well. So these boys need to realize where the real worth of their career lies.
That's a fair point. Speaking about mixed martial arts as a community, it's almost become a cliche for every new MMA promotion to head maybe their website or their press conference tagline, and it's amusing because when we were part of Clash of the Champions, when you were the world champion, the world MMA champion of Clash of the Champions, which was the first MMA promotion ever in India, which had shows in villages.
Right.
At that time, we could say with all honesty that people don't know about mixed martial arts, and we are introducing the sport.
True.
Right? This is like back in 2002,
right,
2003. Jump to 2012, Super Fight League comes,
right,
and they say the same thing, you know?
Right.
People don't know about mixed martial arts,
right,
and so what we are doing is introducing the sport.
Right.
But now, jump to 2022, and every small little promotion uses the same tagline. I don't know whether they're doing a copy paste,
right,
or they're just using the same tagline saying mixed martial arts is not known in India and we are introducing the sport. Let's talk about Sanjeet Budwar, and how popular he's become and who he's fighting on MFN 9.
I can go back to your previous question actually, or what you just said about people not knowing about mixed martial arts. So if in 2002 we did what we did with MMA, in 2012 Super Fight League came, we did what we did with Super Fight League. 2022 we got MFN. We are doing what we are doing with MFN and mixed martial arts, and everybody else still thinks they don't. They are introducing. I think they are the biggest dodos in the country, and you can look out for that meaning of the word, because if you still haven't learnt anything, then you're not fit for that class to be, first of all, period. And coming back to Sanjeet is a find. Sanjeet is I think he's a rough diamond that we are trying to get him into a league that he will be a world beater, definitely one day. And that is precisely the reason that he's here as a main event for MFN 9, fighting against a foreign opponent. He has never fought a foreign opponent in MMA for that matter, and MFN has not seen an Indian guy fighting and a foreign guy in a main event. So that there are three big issues, not just issues, I would say three big bullet points which highlight this main event. And I am expecting big things out of Sanjeet, and I feel that we are honing him to be one of the best in his division, and he's a beast. So I mean, if you saw the last fight, you remember you were the third guy in the cage. I literally saw him grunting and walking towards Dhruv with his hands down, and he wasn't afraid of what's going to happen. He was just, so he's a beast, and I'm hoping for great things for him. Yeah.
I heard him growling.
Oh, okay. So you work with those words then.
So we've spoken about main event.
Right.
We've spoken about the two female bouts.
Right.
I remember at the last MFN in Hyderabad.
Right.
And on that show, I saw this young up-and-coming kid named Sahil Rana.
Yeah.
And I heard that he's on this card as well.
Sahil Rana is another kid that we are so hopeful for, that because his mentality, his fight IQ is just right for mixed martial arts. See, initially when we were part of the original journey of mixed martial arts, they were all one discipline background fighters. This guy is all MMA. He knows his striking, he knows his ground, he knows his wrestling, he knows his jiu-jitsu, he knows everything. He's the perfect package for his weight class. So when we introduced him in MFN 7, he put up a very, very good fight with Clinton, and it turned out to be the fight of the night at MFN 7. Unfortunately, the news is that he's out of this fight card.
Oh no, are you saying Sahil is out?
He's out of this fight card, and it sucks, and it's a bummer. And he broke his right hand again, which was the same injury he had in his previous fight, and he's out of the fight card. So we are looking for a replacement, and we have found a replacement as well.
Okay.
So Imkong Sonep, the boy from Nagaland who was Sahil's opponent, we have a new opponent for him. His name is called Kapil Kumar. Kapil Kumar also has a great story. He was one of the first amateur fighters to be featured on MFN platform. That was back in MFN 2, and that too happened to be in Delhi, June 29, 2019. I still remember the date. He fought in his amateur debut in MFN, won his fight, and now he's making his pro debut against the Naga boy. So I think there are great things happening. So that's the fight.
What goes into these, before the event injuries? Because that's something which defines mixed martial arts having a human element, I guess. And what are the challenges that you face as a matchmaker and promoter when a fighter gets injured literally during fight week or just before fight week?
I mean, so it's always difficult. What we try to do is we keep a backup for each fight. It's not easy because it's expensive. It costs a lot of money to look after these things and have replacements called in. But then as a promotion, if you're working at such a big level, you are supposed to provide a replacement fighter. You're supposed to keep the show going on, as they say. And when I make the fight card, I'm hoping always that I'm literally praying that none of these fighters get injured. And right up till yesterday, we were like, thank God there's no injury. And then boom, we get Sahil Rana. So we are always expecting things like this to happen, but we are also prepared to keep backups ready. But yeah, it kind of upsets the scale a little bit, but doesn't really stop what we are doing. And I've not said this before, and I'll go on record and say this, that there are a lot of times when these fighters are training in a training camp, we go out of our way, which we are not obligated to. We go out of all of our ways to go and help them during their fight camp also, even though they don't make it to the fight. So that's something that everybody should know, that MFN does look after its fighters, even though they don't fight. We still look after their training. We still look after their training camps. So I just wanted to put that word out there.
At the last MFN in Delhi, we had is his name Zabusha Shah?
Right.
Zabusha Shah fought one of India's elite,
All right.
Srikant Shekhar.
Right.
I was actually in shock because it was hardly the bout had started, and I usually kind of, as a referee, I give the fighters a little space for that first
Right.
few seconds
Right.
for them to engage, and then boom, I had to literally make a dash,
Right.
like a 100-meter dash towards them
Right.
to stop what was happening, because Zabusha was pounding on Srikant and Srikant was asleep.
Right.
Do you have any of them on this card?
Thinking about that, and I mean, that fight was a stunner, and the fight was such a shock for me as well, because I really didn't expect that. None of us, in some of my, we were just having a media team meeting, and nobody knew what happened with that fight, because it happened all of a sudden, and even before we could get our cameras out, the fight had stopped. So yes, Zahur is back, and Zahur is back. There's a very interesting story why Zahur is back. He's a fan favorite, obviously, amongst his Afghan fans, which are a huge number in Delhi, and he happens to take a fight upon Seth Rosario. Seth Rosario, this is, you can quote me on this. Seth called me and told me, "Oh, I will fight Zahur, and I will take revenge for my friend." And apparently, Srikant and Seth are training partners, so I don't know where this is going to go, but there's a story there. So Seth is coming to take revenge from Zahur for the loss of Srikant. So let's hope, and we have a great fight happening in this one.
I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup.
Right.
It's something that I'm going to have to watch out and stay
Watch out.
closer, because
Right.
we don't know what's going to happen,
Right.
which way it's going to turn. But since we've covered these 4 bouts,
Right.
do you have any other specific bouts that you want to talk about on the fight card?
I think for me, I'm always excited about the underdogs. And when I say the underdogs, I mean no disrespect. I always like the undercards, because I want to see how they perform on a stage like MFN, which is the biggest in India. When these undercard boys come and perform, it's like a dress rehearsal to be the top of the pro chain. And for me, all the undercard fights we still have, thankfully, we still have 4 undercard fights. So I'm looking forward from the boys who are coming from Nagaland, all 3 of them. Those fights are really exciting. I'm looking forward to those. Obviously, the main card there's a reason it's called a main card. So I'll just say I'm excited for all the fights. That's what it is. Yeah.
Do you have anything special for Delhi on this fight card? How many total Delhi boys are going to be and girls, if possible, on
So
this
I
card?
think majority of our boys and girls, Pooja is in Delhi, Seth is in Delhi, Srikant is in Delhi, Zahur is in Delhi, and there's a huge northeast population which is here to support the Manipur fighters and the Nagaland fighters. So they have a huge community here as well. So Delhi is it? Delhi it is, and the fight capital, like they say.
And I think that Delhi is a sporting city as well, the hub of most of the sports and the big stadiums.
Right.
And MFN being hosted at Siri Fort, I think is going to make a lot of noise and waves, both in the sporting and the entertainment community
Right.
in Delhi.
I'm looking forward to it, and I think we will have to fix a calendar in such a way that every year we bring one show to Delhi, because we cannot ignore this fan base that we have. Delhi has given us a lot of love where the promotion is concerned. The fighters are great from here, and we have a lot of support in every possible way. The city has been great to us. We have great hospitality partners and everything else that's associated with it. IMA has a great team in Delhi and a fantastic hard-working team. So all roads point to Delhi at least once a year for now. So yeah, Delhi it is.